Good afternoon. I'm TerryTopCat for TerryTopCat Purrsents for Clusterview.com. I'm with the wonderful Nadine Benjamin, MBE. Good afternoon, beautiful Nadine. How are you?
I feel very blessed to be here. I feel very blessed to be alive. And I feel just very blessed to be present today.
So I'm going to explain to everyone how we met. So I'm going to say a big shout out to the wonderful Omar F. Okai, co-founder and director of the British Black Theatre Awards, or Black British Theatre Awards. And I was kindly invited by him, and I went with my lovely friend Angelica and my mum and Alwyn. And you went and received an award. So what did you receive an award for?
I
Nadine?
received an award for Best Opera Performer for a show that I did at English National Opera called Blue.
And afterwards, I mean, it was really packed, it was well attended, and there's so many fabulous people there. And I really
exciting.
felt, it was brilliant. And my first award show.
And it was at the National Theatre.
Yeah, exactly.
It was lovely.
And we had good seats, thank you, Omar. I think we were sitting right behind you, actually. So I went up to you with my lovely mum, and you were so lovely to us. And I was like, right, I really want to, I'm going to be bold, and I'm going to ask Nadine. And this was in October, so now we are in March. And, you know, it takes time people are busy. And I'm so happy that you're here. And thank you in advance to Mark Anthony for filming and editing. So please explain to everyone, Nadine, how you got into opera, how that when your interest was first ignited in opera, because I know you were working in a different setting, like a banking world, and then you studied opera. So explain to everyone your journey, please.
Oh my gosh, I mean, I always think, if somebody asks me this question, and I always think to myself, oh my gosh, do people really want to know that again? Because it's everywhere. But, it's that thing of coming to, my voice was always in the church. It was something that was ordained to me. I feel that it's a gift that has been anointed to me. And I think what I didn't realise, I was wishing to push it into the kind of garage pop rock world, which I do well, and I write songs in that genre very well. But I think what other people were hearing when I was in the recording studios were like, every time I sang like a soul song or a jazz song or a pop song, they would be like, oh, Nadine, can you make it sound a little less like opera? And I was like, what do you mean? I don't even sing opera. And so, but it was interesting because upon leaving secondary school, there was my teacher, Mrs. Lake, and she taught music in our school. And she said, Nadine, before you leave, I've got to let you know this. So she played me the Queen of the Nights aria from Mozart's Magic Flute. And she said, I wish you to know that you could sing like this one day. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, you never said that before. But okay, we've got this. So she planted a seed. Right. I didn't know where the seed would grow. I left, did YTS in business administration, ended up in an architectural firm. After that, ended up in corporate finance, then onto a trading floor. And, and I was in the trading floor, and my boss said to me, Nadine, you're so charismatic, you're so alive, we're all in our 40s now. Yes, I wish to offer you this job, which I'm really happy for you to have. But is there anything else that you wish to do? And I said, well, I had this teacher, Mrs. Lake, and she said, she played me this opera aria, and she said, you could sing like this one day. And I said, I suppose I should check if I can. And so I went off, and he said, okay, go and find out if you can do it. I give you 2 months or 3 months off.
That's really that's really great of him to do that.
Amazing. And he said, if you don't if you don't succeed, just come back. We'll absolutely give you your job. And if not, I never went back. I ended up in Carmel.
You're still in contact with him?
I'm not actually, and that's one thing. That's one call I need to make.
Yeah. And Mrs. Lake?
Yeah, Mrs. Lake. I found her.
Oh wow!
I looked for her for years and years and years and years, and then I was doing Laura in Louisa Miller at English National Opera. And this man came up. I was signing my CDs because English National Opera was so lovely. I'd made a CD and they allowed me to sell it from their shop. And so I was signing CDs. And at the end, a man came up to me and he said, "You keep talking about this woman, Mrs. Lake. Could it be my wife?" Well, I turned round and he presented his wife to me, and I looked into her eyes and I was like, I burst into tears. I started screaming because it was so traumatic. It was so...
I'm getting emotional.
Yeah, but it was, I had been looking for her and searching for her. And I held her so tight. And, you know, she's such a well put together woman that you could see she was crying, but she was holding it. Like, you know, so it was really interesting. And I was the outrageous, chaotic one, you know, but I didn't mind, because if that was to show her just my gratitude and expressing myself to her, the beauty of the seed that she had set.
Absolutely.
And I'm a success partly because of her, but also partly because of another woman. Because before that, there was another woman called Felicity Lawrence. And she took me on, she wrote this thing called The African Madonna about the stuff going on in South Africa. And at the time, I didn't really, you know, I wasn't fully knowledged. But I think I was about 13 or 14. And she came to my school and she sang it. We all sang in her choir. And she picked me out and sent me off to Norway to sing the Black African Madonna in her thing.
Norway?
Yeah,
wow,
Norway.
What experience.
So it was huge, you know. But she recognised my voice. She saw something in my voice at such a young age. So even before that, I had this woman, Felicity Lawrence, who I am still in contact with, and who's a wonderful activist in freeing people, helping people in many different ways. So I'm eternally grateful to those two women and everybody that's mentored me along the way.
Wow, I'm so inspired by that, and I got so emotional. I just want to ask you, so when you learn an aria, what is the thing you tackle first? Understanding the language and what it means, or singing the first notes in a foreign language?
So for me, it's all about the text. What am I saying? I did a course where I was a part of something, and we got taught to look at our scripts and our texts and to go over it 4 or 5 times. To look at, you know, what are the facts? What do I say? What does the other person say? Etc., etc. And to just repeatedly go through that. And then you have an understanding of where you are in the piece. Then you look at rhythm for me. Then I look at rhythm. Then I get to listen to the sound world. What does the sound world sound like? You know, and then I'm in front of my coach and he puts all the music down for me so I can understand where my melody goes. And then I look how I work with the orchestra. Then I'm looking at the language, you know, am I making the right pronunciations? Have I interpreted it right? You know, making sure that I'm understanding that the language is saying what I think it's saying, because I need to be able to express that, you know. So then I need to make sure I'm saying it right, and then I need to make sure I'm singing it right. Then I need to make sure that my vowels are right. So
that's a lot, my
there's
gosh.
so many pieces of the puzzle. And then I need to make sure I'm expressing it in the right way. So there are so many pieces of the puzzle. People just have no clue. It's a very expensive process. And so sometimes you can break even in a show, and sometimes you gain a profit. But so it's just a very expensive process, but a worthwhile process. And actually, I've been doing that this morning.
So I want to come back to you saying about being a songwriter, because before we did the interview, you played this great song that you kind of write. So obviously with the music, you as a songwriter as well, you understand the rhythm and everything with what you're saying when you're learning arias. So you're a soprano, correct?
Yes,
so
I'm
can
a
you tell
soprano.
everyone the difference between a soprano and other variations of an opera singer?
Oh my God, there's so many. But you know, simplistically, you have like a bass who's got like a really low, normally and that would be a male voice.
Women sometimes?
No, the version of that for a woman would be a contralto.
Okay.
Yeah. So between the bass and the bass baritone, that would be a kind of contralto. And then you have a mezzo. Yeah, so a mezzo soprano normally has kind of the same notes as I have, definitely up to a C, anyway, a top C. But they've got this really richness in their lower end of their voice, so it cuts straight through the orchestra. And I suppose that match for that would be, yes, a baritone. So the contralto's match would be a bass, and the mezzo's, which is a woman, would be a baritone. Then you have a soprano, which is me, which is the higher ranged voice that can go above a C and sits higher and is really comfortable up there, okay? And that would be matched with the male version, which is a tenor, yeah? And then, is there any more? Bass, baritone, mezzo, soprano. That's the basic, because you can have a bass baritone,
right.
And you can have all different, you can have variations of everything. But then you have what they do. So the voices then do different things. So mine is a spinto soprano, a lyric spinto, which means that my voice is really warm and has a beautiful colour, but then it sometimes can be pushed to do something a little bit more dramatic, okay? But then you have a dramatic voice, and then you have a coloratura voice, the one that does all the, you know, the things, the arpeggios that go, they go all over the place, and does all that, we call them runs, and I think, oh my gosh, you put that questions on the spot, so I'm just trying to think quickly on my head, but that's it for now. I think that's a kind of rough kind of explanation.
So when you first started out as a soprano, please mention some of the female opera singers that you looked up to, because I can't pronounce their names. I know we were discussing before, but please educate me and everyone who's watching.
So for me, one of the top ones was Maria Callas, just because she turned everybody on their head. I've got a robe of hers. I've got jewellery of hers.
So
yeah,
cute.
I'm obsessed. Like, you know. So
look at my plays.
Yeah. Well, you know, you have to be obsessed to do what we do. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't have the inspiration to do it. You know. Because of it, because of the many challenges and opportunities that it takes us on. You have to be made of something resilient, you know. Yeah. But also Leontine Price, who was also just as magical as Maria Callas in a different way. And you had Grace Bunbury, you had Shirley Verrett, you had who's all that, they're all coming out of my. I'm not thinking.
Jessie Norman. Norman Jessie.
Yeah.
That's for you, Omar.
Jessie Norman. But, you know, you had other people like Dame Joan Sutherland. And who else? And now, you know, we have so many singers that represent singers of colour. You know, so in the UK especially, we have like Peter Brathwaite, who's a baritone, and we have Elizabeth Llewellyn, who's another soprano. We have Nardos Williams, who's another soprano. We have Gwen Rand.
And have you worked with
another soprano?
The last few that you mentioned, the UK ones? Or would you like to work with?
I've worked with Elizabeth Llewellyn, and I've worked with Anne Rand, yes, and Gwen Rand, sorry. And I've worked with Peter Brathwaite as well. Our first jobs together, actually, were with Peter Brathwaite, and everybody used to think he was my husband. It was very funny. And but we're very good friends. And also Ronald Sam. He's a tenor. I've worked with him. I worked with him on the recent production in Blue. He played the priest, the father. So there's a few of us knocking around who are, you know, really loving what we do, and you know, and just pouring our hearts out on stage.
So not only you do opera, you do mentoring schemes. So tell us about that as well. And
I love people.
I can tell.
I absolutely love people, and one of the most important things for me is that people stand in their empowerment. You know, I always think that empowerment means embracing, and your own power, and then the ment is like you mentoring yourself, mentoring yourself for your own power. You know, so that's how I see empowerment. and really coming to the inside job, not the external world, because, you know, in art, lots of people are looking for validation, and the validation that they're looking for is not outside of them. It needs to be an internal process. And this is where we find our confidence. This is where we find our integrity. This is where we stand on the shoulders of people who have come before us, because we are so in tune, you know, to what's needed in the world because of who we've become, not because of who we think we need to be. And so it's really important for me to work with people from the age of 35 to retirement. That's who I mentor.
Wow.
Because I feel that this is the forgotten age group. This is the people that, when you look across, not up and down, when you look across, they feed into this, and they feed into the upper age groups as well. And this is the age group where people are always saying, oh, they should have it all together now, or, you know, they should have it all worked out. And actually, this is the time where they're the most effective, where they make the most money, where they understand what their dream was that they started when they were 16, 17, 18, where they can actually apply what they've learned from an MA, a BA, or a PhD, where they can make the most difference in the world. Okay, so my job, my passion is to make sure that I innovate these people, that I reflect a window or a mirror at them that shows them this is possible, and this is how, and these are the skills that you now have that you didn't know you had before, that you can apply to who you need to be now. And it's fascinating, and most of them are making more money than me now.
So obviously your motivation's never about money.
No, but I think that's important, because I think one of the things that is missing in this age category is sustainability. Right. And we're having people leave the arts because they don't understand how to sustain who they are financially. Yeah, and this we mustn't skip over that, you know, because they have kids to feed, they've got bills to pay, they've got mortgages to pay. That is not a joke. And so, but nor is their artistry. So we must combine this financial level of sustainability with their artistry, so they understand how to have longevity and how to pass it on.
So you also do inspirational speaking.
Yes, I do.
Explain to us. I'm inspired by what you just told me. So.
Well, mostly people come and ask me to speak about my life. You know, I've done talks like for one of the biggest media companies in the world, like Omnicom Media. I've gone in there and, you know, and done a speaker's spot for them, you know, and I've gone into schools, I've gone into universities. You know, I'm really open to go. And
you love people. So.
I love people, and if my story can inspire one person, then my job's done.
Absolutely.
Really, you know. So I just think it's important to be as transparent as I can about who I am, because I think there is a naivety is the word that comes up for me, of that people just get here and they just arrive, you know. Well, I work 7 days a week to get here. And when I didn't get into any of the universities that I wished to get into, because they didn't see it viable for me to be there, I created a way for me to make that happen. And, you know, and I think that, you know, I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'm 23 years sober, you know. Yeah, thank you. So it's, you know, I was homeless. You know, and so it's not just about, we didn't just arrive here. We have to go through the same challenges. Sure. You know, I know what it's like to be hungry. You know, so we go through the same challenges that somebody right now, and I hope you're listening to me, whoever you are, you know, thinks, oh no, this is impossible. You know, actually, no, it's not. You know, and a day at a time. Don't think about the 30 years from now. Think about the 24 hours. How can I make the smallest change in the next 24 hours? Because those incremental steps compound. And before you know it, you're somewhere where you never knew that you could be.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So we're going to quickly wrap up, but just want to tell everybody what your future projects are.
Oh, I've got so many.
Good, as you've got quite a lot as well. And what your favourite productions have been in terms of either co-stars or the pieces of music?
I mean, you know, life-changing productions for me have been things like Porgy and Bess. I was standing on stage at English National Opera when they did Porgy and Bess, and I'd chosen specifically not to do that opera much, simply because that's how a lot of black singers can get pigeonholed. Right. And I was warned about that, so I really was quite mindful about when I chose to do that opera. But this one at English National Opera, which won loads of awards, the reason why I did it, because we had like everybody on that stage was a soloist. And if I wasn't singing Clara, somebody else down there could have been singing Clara, because I was put up above this great thing, which is about 7 foot high, and I had to start the opera from up there, holding a baby with the thing turning round. It was the most nerve-wracking experience of my life, and it was the first time that I'd ever sang to an audience of 2,500 people on a professional stage. So, you know, it was a lot. And down below were people, not down below, well, yeah, well, they were below me. Were people that had come through this career and had made great strides, you know, and I knew, Nadine, you can't make a mistake, because...
Are you your own biggest self-critic?
Oh, I think so, yeah.
Every artist.
Yeah, every artist is, yeah. And I knew that I had to do it well for them, you know, and so when I went up to that top B or B flat, and I, you know, you know, and I was just like, okay, this is going to be okay. I turned round and I burst into tears. And then I was like, get yourself together. You've got to do the rest of this show. And I just, you know, but if I had started, excuse the term, the show shit, then, you know, that's how the rest of the show would have been viewed. So I knew I had a huge responsibility. And then I went straight into Musetta after that. So that was another responsibility. But to answer your other question, this year, I am going to be working with our wonderful Pegasus Opera. And I'm going to be doing Elle in La Voix Humaine, which means the human voice. It's a double bill. I'll be working with Bernadette Pritchard and Alison Buchanan, who is actually the CEO of Pegasus Opera. And it's a double bill. They will be doing one show and I'll be doing my show. I don't know who goes first or second or whatever, but it's going to be a great night, and it's going to be at the Royal College of Music Theatre. So, yeah, if you can, come along.
One thing I'd like to say, I was told I would never sing opera and you should go and sing jazz. I was turned away from every conservatoire. Don't let other people's no's stop you from having your own yeses.
The other thing that I wish to be really transparent about is I'm severely disabled. So I suffer from severe dyspraxia, but I also have Tourette's. So no one would ever know because I manage it really well. But I do need support on different things. And as my career has developed, I've needed more support, because that's what happens when you're put under pressure. Your disability needs more attention. So one of the things in that is I go to talk, I can see the person's face, but I can't say the word. It won't come to me. So that's part of my dyspraxia, because it affects my executive functions, which is all about planning, volition, how we put things together, and it affects muscle development. It affects my movement. So yeah, anyway, I digress. But yes, I'm doing Elle in La Voix Humaine. I'm also doing Tosca with Opera Australia, which is going to be to an audience of 7,000 people. So I'm really...
Where in Australia? Or is it nationwide?
It's going to be in Melbourne. Okay. So I fly to Sydney first for rehearsals. Then
You've been to Australia before?
No.
Beautiful.
So
beautiful.
Thank you. I can't wait. So this is...
Very different cities. Sydney is very much a beach and it's great. And Melbourne's very cosmopolitan, very European.
Yeah.
So you're going to love it.
I cannot wait. I'm really looking forward to it. And it's me now becoming international. I'm an international soprano now because of that.
First job? Well, no, you went to...
No, I've done European jobs, but
Australia.
Yeah, so Australia makes it more international. My career more international. And then, I don't think I can talk about the next one. But I can talk about the next one. That's straight after that. I'm going to be doing Ernani. I'm going to be doing Elvira in Hernani at the Buxton International Festival. So I'm looking forward to that. And in between that, I've got small concerts that I'm doing. Like I'm doing one tomorrow, but nobody will see it because they won't see it from this. But, you know. Yeah.
And one last question. So when, let's say the production, when you go into Australia and you do rehearsals, so like you mentioned before, it's not only, it's the costumes, the lighting, the orchestra. So how, it depends on the job, how long would rehearsals usually be?
We normally get 6 weeks, unless
That's
it's
a long time. That's great, though.
Yeah, unless it's a revival, and then we get like 2 weeks. Something
That's a lot to do.
Yeah. So if it's a revival of something, we'll get 2 weeks. But if it's a new production, you'll get 6 weeks because there's a lot of things that need to happen in order to make that happen.
Nadine, it's been an absolute pleasure. Can you tell everyone where you can find you on social media if they want to follow you or be inspired by your motivational speaking or mentored by you?
Everything is Nadine Benjamin. So my Instagram is at Nadine Benjamin Soprano, and my Facebook is Nadine Benjamin, and that's enough for now. My website is nadinebenjamin.com.
Thank you so much for your lovely time. I really appreciate it, and we both have to come see you perform as well.
Yeah, thank you. Well, you've been very easy to talk to, so I appreciate it.
Thank you. This has been TerryTopCat for TerryTopCat Purrsents for Clusterview.com with the wonderful Nadine Benjamin, MBE.
Pleasure.